Bismillahi awwaluhu wa akhiru. Question 1. Why does the United States of America want to attack Iraq? I'm not going to answer you. Oh no, that's your homework. Before I leave Australia, inshallah, you'll get the answer. But in the meantime, you must do some thinking. All right? Number 2, who is the Mahdi? This is the topic of my lecture which is to come, Imam al-Mahdi and the return of the Khilafah. The Mahdi is a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. The Prophet said that his name will be my name and his father's name will be my father's name, and he'll have a broad forehead and a large nose. But the Imam al-Mahdi, with whom the Khilafah will be restored, listen carefully, the Imam al-Mahdi cannot emerge, cannot arise until Dajjal has completed his mission. And therefore, until Israel has become the ruling state in the world, and that has not as yet happened, and until Israel has ruled the world for a day, which is like a week, and that has not yet happened, and until the water in the Sea of Galilee has run dry, and that has not as yet happened. And so it is not very sensible, and this is polite language, it is not very sensible to be speculating whether Imam al-Mahdi has already been born, and whether he's in Damascus or whether he's in Yemen and so on. That's not very sensible. Please stop doing that. What is the specific advice that the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam gave to us for protection from Dajjal? He said, recite Suratul Kahf every Friday. Every Friday. And it'll give you protection until the next Friday. How? How will it give you protection? Nur will come down upon you from the heavens to the earth. And that Nur will remain with you until the next Friday. What is that? What is the connection with that Nur and Dajjal? The answer is, it is with that Nur that you'll be able to see with 2 eyes, while Dajjal sees with 1 eye. So you'll be able to understand his strategy, his deception. Next question, how did you come to the conclusion that the end is E-N-D, isn't it? How did you come to the conclusion that the end will be in approximately 50 years? I never came to that conclusion. Only Allah knows when the end will be. Nobody knows, not even the Imam knows. Only Allah knows when the end will come. I never said that the end is going to come in 50 years. You are saying that, not me. I said that the return of the Son of Mary, that I expect in about 50 years' time. Not the end. That's a 2 different things. Nobody knows when the end will come, the end of the world. How did I come to that conclusion? I used 2 methods. If you read my book, you will see the arguments. Method number 1, the water level in the Sea of Galilee. And method number 2, a day like a year, a day like a month, a day like a week. Who are Gog and Magog? Are they funny looking people or are they normal human beings? Huh? To answer that question, we have to locate a people who prior to Waylul lil Arab, prior to the time of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, had no special links with the Holy Land. But after the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ are now obsessed with liberating the Holy Land. Only one people qualify. It's Europe. Europe after the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ embarks upon the Crusades. It's the white people doing it, the European. It's not an essentially Christian phenomenon. Why? Because no other Christians are involved in the Crusades, only Europe. So the Crusades are an essentially European phenomenon masquerading as Christianity. Secondly, the obsession with the Holy Land continues with the Zionist movement. But the Zionist movement is European, but it is masquerading as Jewish. How do we know that? No other Jews are involved in the effort to liberate the Holy Land, only the European. And then finally we have the island of Britain, which is now secular and godless. But this Britain now issues the famous Balfour Declaration in 1917, that it is the intention of the British government to work for the establishment of a Jewish national home in the Holy Land. This is strange. I think I told you the only thing stranger than this ever happened in history was when the cow jumped over the moon. Huh? This strange obsession on the part of Europe for liberating the Holy Land, which they eventually did in 1919, indicates that Gog and Magog are located in European civilization. We can refine it even more than that. We can be specific within European civilization. Because the hadith is that when Gog and Magog are released, the first of them will pass by the Sea of Galilee and start to drink the water. And by the time the last of them pass, they'll say there used to be water here. Who are they who are drinking the water from the Sea of Galilee? Not the Egyptians, not the Jordanians, not the Syrians. Who? Israel. Who in Israel? Not Banu Israel, the European. It is the European Jew who controls the state of Israel. And it is he who has established the modern economy, which is drinking the water, the industrial economy. That's where the water is going. And it is he, as the government of Israel, who has established the policy of making the deserts green. You need a lot of water to do that. So we can identify Gog and Magog not only in Europe, but also in that part of Europe which is Jewish. What analogy can we draw between the Freemasons and Al-Masih ad-Dajjal? The Freemasonry movement has its origins and its roots in ancient Israel and in the Old Testament. A lot of the symbols which are used by the Freemasonry and a lot of the beliefs in the Freemasonry system comes out of the ancient scriptures, ancient Jewish scriptures. But the Jews have transformed the Freemasonry movement to be an international movement, not an exclusively Jewish movement. So that the link between Freemasonry and Judaism no longer exists today in the popular consciousness. So a Prime Minister of Australia can be a Freemason, yeah? And a Prime Minister of Britain who is not a Jew can be a Freemason. The reason why they've done that is so that they can use this movement, the Freemasonry movement, as a front through which they could pursue their objectives without allowing themselves to be identified as the actor. So they can remain as the hidden actor behind the Freemasonry and the Illuminati. How was Isa alayhi salam really betrayed? I don't understand. I didn't use the word betray in my talk. Maybe the word betrayal refers to the moment when he was arrested, because that belongs to the Christian beliefs that one of the disciples betrayed him to the Roman army. How can we establish the hudud in a Muslim village in Australia? The answer is this, that in the Muslim village, Every single person who wants to live in the village, every Muslim who wants to live in the village would have to belong to the Jama'ah. There's only one Jama'ah. And this Jama'ah will have an Amir, only one Amir. One Jama'ah, one Amir. This is the title of one of my books downstairs. And the members of the Jama'ah will have to give a pledge to obey the Amir. Because we want discipline in this Jama'ah. We don't want 1,000 shepherds leading the sheep. We want only one shepherd leading the sheep. Okay? We want discipline in this Jama'ah. You have to give a pledge to obey the Amir. And the Amir will now have an obligation to enforce the deen on the members of the Jama'ah. If a time comes when we have to flog you publicly, in Brooklyn, in New York, there is an Imam called Imam Ibrahim. He's taller, the coconut tree, African American. And any African American member of his Jama'ah who commits adultery and comes and confesses, you know, the African American will come and confess. Then the Imam, who is built like a coconut tree, will get 2 of his lieutenants and they'll hold on to you and they'll bring you into the masjid, and the Imam himself will roll up his sleeves and he'll give you the 100 blows. Well, right there in Brooklyn. Right there in Brooklyn, in New York. And there's never been any problem with Uncle Sam and his government. There has never been any problem at all with Uncle Sam and his government. Why? Because the members of the Jama'ah accept the punishment of the Imam. If anyone does not accept the punishment of hudud, then we'll say to him, you can no longer live in the village. Go back to Sydney. What is your comment on Saddam from the Islamic point of view? I once went to visit the blind Egyptian Sheikh, Abdul Hamid Kishk, rahimahullah. A taxi driver in Cairo took me on a journey. He asked me where I was from and what I was doing here. So I said I was attending a conference organized in Cairo on education. He said, Mubarak's conference? I said, yeah, Mubarak's conference. He said, you know about Abdul Hamid Kishk, the Sheikh? I said, yes, I want to meet him. He said, you attended Mubarak's conference and you want to meet Sheikh Abdul Hamid Kishk? I said, well, the reason why I'm attending that conference is so that I can meet people and I can establish links with them. He said, all right, I'll take you tomorrow. So the next day I had to wait at a particular corner. He didn't come alone, and he came with 2 or 3 people with him. And he took me to the home of Sheikh Abdul Hamid Kishk, a blind man. I had to wait for half an hour for the Sheikh. After half an hour he came to me and he apologized for keeping me waiting. He says, the reason why I had to keep you waiting was I'm working on a book of tafsir, writing a book of tafsir. And I almost wept. The blind man writing a book of tafsir. When he talked to me, he would laugh sometimes and I'd feel that the whole building was shaking when he would laugh. Well, when we turn to the subject of Saddam Hussein, Sheikh Abdul Hamid Kishk immediately declared, Shaitanul Akbar. Shaitanul Akbar, said Sheikh Abdul Hamid Kishk. He is the last of the great sheikhs. We don't have so many. of them around anymore. Rahimahullah. An indication of his opinion of Saddam Hussein, that he is a man who is profoundly misguided. Okay? Why do we not make dua for the parents of the Messenger of Allah? That is a question I would like you to pose to Mufti. You wrote a book attacking the Wahhabi state, and yet you honor an alliance between the Taliban and the Wahhabi movement. Please explain. I'm very glad that you asked this question. I have never written attacking the Wahhabi religious movement as a religious movement. The title of my book is The Caliphate, the Hijaz, and the Saudi Wahhabi nation state. You are the one who has done me the disservice, and I hope that you may recognize that you have done me a disservice by putting into my mouth what I have not said. I have specifically mentioned that this book does not attack the Wahhabi movement as a religious movement. That's another subject which I'm not dealing with. I am concerned with an alliance between the Wahhabi movement at a particular time in history and the Saudi family. That alliance proceeded to betray Islam in a monstrous betrayal. And there are those who today would be described as Salafi shuyukh, who agree with me, and who themselves are more powerful than I am in denouncing that monstrous betrayal. In Melbourne, there was a Salafi brother who came to my lecture with the feeling in his heart that I had launched this attack in my book. And he made a lot of noise in the masjid. And I had to say to him, brother, at least the adab of the house of Allah. So he cooled down. And then he listened to the whole lecture. And he understood the lecture better than the rest. And he was smiling and laughing and enjoying the lecture. And in the lecture I mentioned the name of Sheikh Safar al-Hawali. And I honored that Sheikh as a great Sheikh. But he is Salafi, which today is a synonym for Wahhabi. At the end of the lecture, he came to me and he hugged me. And he said to me, you know something? I am the student of Sheikh Safar. And there is an amazing similarity between his thought and yours. And I want you to come to my home and have dinner. Yes. I have denounced the alliance between the Wahhabi movement and the Saudi family, which led to the destruction of the Khilafah, and which prevented the re-emergence of the Khilafah to this day, and which made of the Arabian Peninsula, Jaziratul Arab, a client state of Uncle Sam. That I denounced. And there are many Salafi sheikhs today who are in prison in Saudi Arabia because they're doing the same thing that I do. And they are my brothers. We differ on certain religious issues, but we are brothers. And when we fight to liberate the Holy Land, we're going to be fighting shoulder to shoulder. Last question. What is the method by which you have arrived at the conclusion about 50 years from now? I said to you, method number one, the water level in the Sea of Galilee. But remember, I said I can be wrong. Did you hear that? Yes. Did I say that? Yes. I can be wrong. How long will it take before that water dries up in the Sea of Galilee? Do you know that that river from Lebanon, over which you might now have war, that the Lebanese are now attempting to use to get water for Lebanon? Do you know that that river flows into the Sea of Galilee? And if Lebanon begins to use that water, there'll be less water going into the Sea of Galilee. And do you know that the Israeli government knows better than you and I the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ? That is why if they have to wage war, they'll wage war. But they don't want to see that river touched in Lebanon. Now, how long will it take for the water to dry up in the Sea of Galilee? First of all, recognize that the water level in the Sea of Galilee is now lower than it has ever been in history. Well, then why are you still sleeping and eating halwa? Surely you should wake up and recognize. Gog and Magog have been passing for a long, long, long time now for that water level to be that low. How long will it take to dry up? This is my plausible guesswork, that within the next 50 years I hope to see that water dry up, but I can be wrong. If you can make a better guess than me, because you have a better knowledge of hydraulic engineering, fine, I'll be delighted to benefit from your knowledge. What is the second method I've used? A day like a month, a day like a year, a day like a month, a day like a week. By my calculation, the time which remains before Israel becomes the ruling state in the world, plus a day like a week, would add up to approximately 50 years from now, but I can be wrong. What is important in what I'm saying is a wake-up call. A wake-up call that the time for the return of Nabi Isa alayhi salam is not far, far, far away, but it is close by. The time when the Muslim army will liberate the Holy Land is not far, far, far away. It's close by. So do not give up. فَلَا تَهِنُوا وَتَدْعُوا إِلَى السَّلْمِ وَأَنْتُمُ الْأَعْلَوْنَ وَلَنْ يَتِرَكُمْ وَاللَّهُ مَعَكُمْ وَلَنْ يَتِرَكُمْ أَعْمَالَكُمْ. Do not give up. Do not despair. Do not throw in the towel, when you should rather be making the effort for you to have the upper hand. And remember, when you make that effort for you to have the upper hand over your enemies, Allah is with you, not with them. And Allah will never allow your effort to be wasted and be in vain.
يا بيت القدس لنا أمل ستعود القدس لأمتنا ونطهر ساحتك العذراء وننشر فوقك رايتنا فوقك رايتنا القدس تنادينا القدس تنادينا.
One Islam Productions, an Islamic film studio established in Australia, is dedicated to producing films for all Muslims. Just some of the films by One Islam Productions: children's programs, Islam for Me, We Remember Allah, Storytime, and more. Educational films, Pray as You Have Seen Me Pray, Words, Ramadan, Renewal of Faith. Documentaries. We at One Islam Productions believe that Islam is precious and deserves to be presented in only the highest quality. Visit us at www.oneislam.net for more information. One Islam Productions, a film production company run by Muslims for Muslims.